The cold cut through us like a knife as we gathered in the pre-dawn darkness. We were young, eager soldiers of the German army, bundled in our thick wool coats and helmets. The Ardennes forest loomed around us, silent and ominous under a blanket of frost. I took out my diary, its pages crisp and clean, waiting to be filled with our journey into the unknown. My fingers trembled slightly as I wrote, trying to capture the mix of excitement and anxiety that pulsed through our unit. Paul Husser's name echoed among us like a rallying cry, a commander known for his determination and daring. The order came swiftly advance into the Ardennes, penetrate deep into Allied lines, and secure the route to Antwerp. We marched in disciplined formation, our boots crunching on the frozen ground. The air was tense with anticipation, each step bringing us closer to the battlefield. As we moved deeper into the forest, the sun began to rise, casting long shadows among the trees. Birds chirped overhead, oblivious to the impending clash of armies. My comrades and I exchanged nervous glances, sharing whispered conversations about what lay ahead. Some spoke of glory and victory, while others muttered quiet prayers under their breath. We encountered sporadic resistance from Allied outposts, swiftly overwhelming them with our superior numbers and firepower. The crack of rifles and the boom of artillery shattered the morning calm, marking our progress through the dense undergrowth. By midday, the initial excitement of our advance began to give way to a sense of cautious optimism. We had made significant gains, pushing deeper into enemy territory than expected. Yet, the reality of war lingered in the back of my mind, the uncertainty of what tomorrow would bring, the lives lost on both sides. Night fell swiftly as we dug in for the evening. The forest around us grew darker, the chill seeping into our bones. We gathered around small fires, sharing what little food and warmth we could spare. Laughter mingled with exhaustion as we swapped stories of home, of loved ones waiting for our return. I wrote late into the night, huddled against the cold, with my diary clutched tightly in my hands. These pages would bear witness to our journey through the Ardennes, capturing the raw emotions of young men thrust into the heart of battle. As I closed the diary and prepared for sleep, I wondered what the coming days would bring: victory, defeat, or something far more uncertain. As dawn broke over the Ardennes, we awoke to a world transformed. The forest, once serene and peaceful, now echoed with the distant rumble of artillery and the steady tramp of boots. I reached for my diary, its pages already etched with the ink of yesterday's hopes and fears. Our unit pressed forward, navigating through thick underbrush and across icy streams. The initial excitement of our advance had given way to a wary determination. We knew the Allies would soon regroup and counterattack, but for now we pushed deeper into their defenses with relentless resolve. The diary entries became a patchwork of hurried scribbles and fleeting moments of reflection. I wrote of the camaraderie among us, forged in the crucible of battle. Each step forward brought us closer to our objectives, yet each step also heightened our awareness of the perils that lurked around every corner. We encountered sporadic resistance from Allied patrols and hastily dug in positions. Our exchanges of gunfire were brief but intense, sending echoes through the forest and leaving behind the fallen on both sides. The landscape bore witness to our advance, marked by craters and shattered trees. Evenings were spent in tense anticipation, as we fortified our positions and prepared for the inevitable counteroffensive. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and smoke, mingling with the acrid scent of gunpowder. We huddled around small fires, sharing whispered conversations and trying to drown out the sounds of distant artillery. In quieter moments, I found solace in my diary. I wrote of the faces of my comrades, etched with fatigue and determination. Each night, as I penned my thoughts by the flickering light of a candle, I wrestled with the contradictions of war, the adrenaline-fueled rush of combat, and the sobering reality of lives lost. The days blurred together, punctuated by moments of triumph and moments of heart-wrenching loss. we pushed deeper into enemy territory, our spirits buoyed by small victories and tempered by the toll of relentless combat. The diary became a lifeline, a way to preserve the memories of those fleeting days in the Ardennes. As the chapter drew to a close, a sense of unease settled over our camp. We knew the Allies were regrouping, their reinforcements gathering strength for a counterattack. The forest whispered with the promise of imminent conflict, and I closed my diary with a heavy heart, bracing myself for the storm that was sure to come. The chill of winter had settled into our bones as we huddled in our makeshift trenches, surrounded by the silence of the Ardennes forest. The days had grown shorter and the nights longer, each one more brutal than the last. I opened my diary, the pages creased and worn from constant use, and began to write, my breath misting in the frigid air. Our unit was besieged on all sides. Allied forces had regrouped and launched relentless counterattacks, testing our defenses and our resolve. The diary entries now reflected a grim reality, words scrawled hastily, ink freezing on the page, capturing snippets of fear and exhaustion. Supply lines were stretched thin, rations dwindling to almost nothing. We scavenged what little food we could find from abandoned farmhouses and pillaged Allied supply caches. The wounded cried out for help, their agonized pleas a haunting backdrop to our daily struggles. Nights were the worst. The forest came alive with the sounds of artillery and gunfire, punctuated by the distant wails of wounded soldiers. We took turns on watch, our eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. Sleep came fitfully, if at all, dreams haunted by the specter of death. I wrote of friends lost to sniper fire and mortar shells, their names whispered in quiet moments of reflection. Each loss cut deeper than the last, a reminder of the fragility of life amidst the chaos of war. The camaraderie that had once bound us together now felt like a fragile thread, stretched to its breaking point. In the quiet moments between assaults, I found myself grappling with the moral dilemmas of war. What were we fighting for? The glory of the Reich, they said, but I saw only suffering and despair. The ideals that had spurred us into battle now seemed hollow, overshadowed by the harsh realities of combat. The winter pressed on, unyielding in its cruelty. Frostbite gnawed at our extremities, and illness swept through our ranks like wildfire. Yet we clung to hope, a flickering flame in the darkness. We shared what little warmth we had, huddled together for comfort and reassurance. As I closed my diary for the night, I wondered how much longer we could endure. The forest around us seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next onslaught. The war had stripped away our illusions, leaving only the stark truth of survival and the enduring scars of those who fought and fell beside me. Chapter 3 ended with a sense of desperation and resignation, highlighting the grim realities faced by our protagonist and his comrades in the Ardennes. The order to retreat came swiftly, delivered with the weight of defeat heavy on our shoulders. We left behind the makeshift trenches that had become our home, hastily burying our fallen comrades in shallow graves marked by crude crosses. The forest seemed to mourn with us, its once vibrant foliage now a canvas of destruction. I opened my diary with trembling hands, the pages smudged with dirt and tear stains. It had become my confidant, bearing witness to the horrors of war that words alone could scarcely capture. As we marched through the Ardennes, I wrote of the bitter taste of defeat mingled with relief that we were still alive, if only barely. The retreat was chaotic, the roads choked with retreating soldiers and the wreckage of abandoned vehicles. Allied planes roared overhead, their bombs sending plumes of dirt and debris skyward. We moved in ragged formation, haunted by the specter of enemy ambushes and the constant threat of aerial bombardment. I wrote of the faces of my comrades, their expressions hollowed by fatigue and resignation. We spoke little as we marched, our thoughts consumed by memories of battles fought and lost. Each step forward felt like a step closer to oblivion, yet we pressed on, driven by a stubborn determination to survive. In moments of quiet reflection, I grappled with the guilt of survival. So many had fallen beside me, their lives cut short in the blink of an eye. Their names echoed in my thoughts, a solemn litany of sacrifice that weighed heavily on my conscience. The landscape bore the scars of our retreat: burnt-out tanks, shattered trees, and the lingering stench of death. We passed through villages once bustling with life, now reduced to smoldering ruins. The war had left its mark on everything it touched, turning dreams into nightmares and hope into despair. As night fell, we sought shelter in abandoned barns and farmhouses, the cold seeping into our weary bones. I wrote by the flickering light of a lantern, the words flowing from my pen like a torrent of emotion. The diary became a sanctuary, a place where I could confront the harsh realities of war and the toll it had taken on my soul. The final days of the offensive weighed heavily on us, as we struggled to regroup amidst the ruins of our shattered dreams. The Ardennes, once a battleground of ambition, now lay in tatters, a testament to the futility of our efforts and the relentless march of time. I opened my diary with a sense of resignation, the pages worn and weathered like the faces of my comrades. Each entry spoke of loss and uncertainty, of lives cut short and futures left unfulfilled. The war had taken its toll on us all, leaving scars that would never fully heal. Our unit, battered and depleted, gathered in the fading light of winter. We shared what little provisions we had left, our conversations muted by the weight of our collective grief. The air was heavy with unspoken regrets, the echoes of battles lost reverberating through the silence. I wrote of the faces I would never forget, the friends who had stood beside me in the darkest hours, their laughter and courage now a distant memory. The diary became a chronicle of their sacrifice, a tribute to their unwavering loyalty and the bonds that had sustained us through the chaos of war. As the days passed, the Allied advance grew inexorable. We fought bravely, pushing back against overwhelming odds, but it was clear that our cause was lost. The righteous dreams of conquest had crumbled beneath the weight of Allied resolve, leaving us adrift in a sea of broken promises and shattered illusions. I wrote of the final moments of the offensive, the bitter taste of defeat mingled with a strange sense of relief. The war would go on without us, its course shaped by forces beyond our control. We had fought with honor, but in the end, it had not been enough. In the fading light of winter, I closed my diary for the last time. Its pages were a testament to our journey through hell and back, a record of the sacrifices made and the lives forever changed. The Ardennes lay behind us, scarred but unbowed, a silent witness to the price paid in blood and tears. The years have passed since the Battle of the Bulge, but the memories of those days remain vivid, etched in my mind like scars on the landscape of the Ardennes. The diary I kept, filled with the raw emotions and experiences of a young soldier, now lies among my most treasured possessions. Its pages tell a story of bravery, loss, and the indomitable human spirit amidst the chaos of war. I returned to the Ardennes one summer, long after the guns had fallen silent and the forests had begun to heal. The once scarred and battered trees now stood tall and green, the craters filled with new life. The villages we had fought through had been rebuilt, their streets bustling with the signs of a peaceful life. I walked the paths we had marched, tracing the steps of my younger self. The air was warm, a stark contrast to the bitter cold of that winter. As I stood in the places where friends had fallen, I felt their presence, their sacrifices, a constant reminder of the cost of war. In a quiet clearing, I sat beneath a tree and opened my old diary. The pages were yellowed with age, the ink faded but still legible. I read through my entries, each one a window into the past. I could almost hear the voices of my comrades, see their faces, feel their camaraderie. The names of those who had not returned weighed heavily on my heart. I wrote of them now, my pen moving slowly, carefully. Their stories deserve to be remembered, their bravery and humanity honored. I wrote of the bonds we had formed, the laughter we had shared even in the darkest of times, and the hope that had sustained us. The Ardennes had become a place of reflection for me, a place where I could come to terms with the past and find peace. The war had changed us all, but it had also taught us the value of life, the importance of friendship, and the strength of the human spirit. As I closed my diary for the last time, I felt a sense of closure. The story of the Battle of the Bulge was not just one of military strategy and conflict, but one of personal journeys, of young men facing unimaginable challenges and emerging with a deeper understanding of themselves and the world. I left the Ardennes with a heavy heart, but also with a sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the lives that had touched mine, for the lessons learned, and for the resilience that had carried us through. The diary would remain a testament to that time, a reminder of the past, and a beacon of hope for the future. Years later, as I shared my story with others, I found that the lessons of the Battle of the Bulge resonated far beyond the battlefield. They spoke of the enduring power of human connection, the strength found in adversity, and the hope that, even in the darkest times, we can find light.